Welcome back, everyone. Today's episode is going to be a nice and focused episode where we are going to speed through our power problems. Last time you saw us make all of this oil processing facility and set up diesel. And watching our diamonds slowly go down from 16,000 to 7,000 has really lit a fire underneath me. We need to get going now. So, here's the plan. First step, we're going to make the bender, just so we can auto craft faster. Then we're going to make the wire mill, exactly the same reason. Then we need to make the high voltage circuit assembler. Then we need to process titanium from rutile, make the large combustion engines, and finally process enderium and rewire the base. Simple stuff, really. So let's waste no time and get into it. First step for the bender is to make the Bermabrite casing, so we need to make Bermabrite dust, which is just aluminium, magnesium, and manganese. Circuit 1, let's go. And the bender's now done. We can now set up multiple recipes. There are 4 recipe types for the bender. There's circuit 1, circuit 10, and circuit 2. There's also a circuit 9, but we aren't going to make that yet. So circuit 1 is just our plates, circuit 10 is foils, and circuit 2 is dense plates. So this is, again, the power of our multi-block. We can just have one machine doing all of these recipes. We don't need 3. So circuit 1 is all of the regular plates. Circuit 2 is going to be our double plates. So we can put our double signalum in there. And unfortunately, we have to go through all of our foils and change them to ingots rather than plates. So this bronze foil is now actually a bronze ingot on circuit 10. And we just have to do that with all the others. It's nice, but it does take time. And now our beautiful sterling silver wire mill is also up and running. There are 4 main circuit numbers that we use for the wire mill: 1, 2, 3, and 4. There are also 8 and 16, but we really don't need to start making these anytime soon. 3 is for our fine wires, 2 is for our 2x, 4 is for our 4x, and 1 is for our 1x. And again, just showcasing the power of auto crafting, we now have one machine to do 4 different recipes. Definitely invest in these as quick as you can. So as I said in the last episode, we are going to be mowing towards the large combustion engine, and one of the biggest material sinks here is going to be the titanium. And the titanium is going to need to come from somewhere. And the way that we have to get titanium in the early game is through the titanium tetrachloride processing. And as the name suggests, that requires titanium tetrachloride, which is a mixture of chlorine, carbon dust, and rutile. And so another question, how the hell do we get rutile? Rutile is the byproduct of processing 3 different ores, but the only ore we have access to right now is bauxite. We'll need to start to set the filters for bauxite now so we can go through ore processing. So the first one is the ore washer. Second step is the thermal centrifuge. And it is this step, the thermal centrifuge, that gets us a 33% chance at rutile. And just because I won't waste anything, the final stage, the macerator. And now that we have our rutile, we actually need to process it. And we are here just along from our passive rubber setup with 2 new setups. The first one on the left is going to be our PTFE setup, and we'll get to that shortly. But the most important one is going to be our titanium setup. I know it doesn't look like much, and we're just missing a blast furnace, but after that, I'll show you how we get it set up. So you let me get a blast furnace, and you just wait right there. And here we are, the whole setup is working. And now that I've made it silent, let me explain to you how it works. So first up is titanium tetrachloride production, which takes rutile, 2 carbon dust, and 4 buckets of chlorine. That's the first chemical reactor. This makes 2 buckets of carbon monoxide and 1 bucket of titanium tetrachloride. Titanium tetrachloride goes through the blast furnace with 2 magnesium dust to get you your titanium ingot and magnesium chloride, hence the electrolyzer. This electrolyzer is going to electrolyze the carbon monoxide and the magnesium chloride, so we fully recycle everything except rutile in this process. And as a bonus, we get some extra oxygen gas on the side. So now that we have fuel processing and titanium processing, how close are we to the large combustion engine? Well, a little napkin math later reveals that we need 180 titanium ingots per combustion engine. And at full oxygen boosted diesel consumption, we need to be producing a craft of diesel every 30 seconds. We don't do that yet. We produce a diesel craft every 50 seconds. So we need to upgrade our oil distillation tower to extreme voltage, which we'll do later, because there's a few other things that take priority. The first thing is we actually need to set the patterns for all the different crafting components. We also need PVC, so we can actually start coating the aluminium wires to making the components. And we also need to upgrade our circuit assembler to high voltage and set a pattern for it. So there's a fair few things we need to do beforehand. And while we're doing these, we can let titanium build up. So I think the next step is to make the high voltage circuit assembler. And here's the high voltage circuit assembler, nice and shiny. And we'll just replace our medium voltage one with the high voltage one, and it should just plug and play. You do just have to make sure you allow items input from the output side if you're using pattern providers and not a second interface to output. And so after placing the circuit assembler, let's see if we can craft the IV circuit. We can. Lovely. And there we are. We have our first insane voltage circuit. Almost ready for the combustion engine. And the power is still holding relatively steady. And the only reason for that is because I've disabled most of the machines in the base. It's not looking good. And so behind me now are the two chemicals that are going to make this extremely easy to go forwards. We have PTFE, go to hell, and we have polyvinyl chloride. The reason we needed the PVC is because we now need it to coat all of our cables. Every cable recipe above EV is going to take a thin PVC sheet. And PTFE is going to make our cute little black boxes, which are going to propel us through the late game. And so automating them now was just necessary. And if we go back to our solidification wall, both are being passively solidified into sheets, which we can then bend or macerate if need be. So with PVC and the assembling machine ready to go, it's time we encode all the recipes for the large combustion engine. We have a lot to encode, but there's only one place to start, and that's the beginning. And just quickly, if we look at the large combustion engine, we see that we also have to supply it with lubricant and oxygen. Oxygen was fine, but we didn't make any lubricant until now. More yummy bubbling aside, all we have to do is combine oil and redstone and we get lubricant. We've got a storage bus on it so that we can supply it wherever we need. Who knows where we might need some extra lube. Well, we've run into a little bit of a snag. Tell me on this machine what I can't craft right now. The energy hatch. I can't make anything over a high voltage energy hatch, and high voltage energy hatches only go up to 1 amp. That is a big problem when we're going to be producing 3 EV amps. So we're currently sitting here. We're just about to craft the EV machine hull so we can make the large combustion engine. What do we need going forwards? Well, we need to get the advanced assembler 3 so we can get the emerald mesh, so we can get tungstate or scheelite dust, to then get tungsten. We need to smelt the tungsten or mix it to get tungsten steel. And tungsten steel allows us to get the EV energy hatch. We also need to go through our phosphate chain, get phosphorus doped silicon boules, cut them, get them into medium power integrated chips, make the dynamo hatch, and then make the 4 amp dynamo hatch. We're actually way further away than I wanted to be right now, and this represents a significant amount of time that I'm going to have to spend getting there. So I'm going to continue to work down this chain towards the emerald mesh and then making the tungsten chain, and we're also going to make nichrome at the same time. This is not exactly how I wanted to be spending this time. But it's Greg Tech. It's always fun, isn't it? Right? Right? now we even have this unlocked, and we've already encoded the recipes for the large chemical reactor as well. So we're actually almost there. It doesn't seem like it, because the quest is still locked, but we only have a few processes left to do. They might be GregTech processes, but it's just a few. So the first one is our processing of our phosphorus-doped silicon boules. We actually will need to invest in an extreme voltage cutter in the clean room to be able to get these. Believe we also need a high voltage laser engraver with the brown lens. We also need to smelt some tungsten steel, and then we can make our EV hatches, and we will make the EV 4 amp hatches. We then want more enderium wire, and that's basically it. And then we can actually start turning our power on for real. So here's a brief rundown of what we just got through. The main focus of that was actually to unlock the tungsten chain. So this is a very simple processing chain, only requiring two steps. First one is making hydrochloric acid. Pretty simple. It's just hydrogen and chlorine. We're just making it here because we don't make it anywhere else intentionally. It gets made here, but we instantly electrolyze it, so not worrying about it. Then we chemical bath scheelite or tungstate with hydrochloric acid, and that will get us calcium chloride, lithium chloride, and tungstenic acid. We electrolyze that to get tungsten, calcium, and lithium. Also hydrogen and chlorine back, which is quite handy, so it's fully recycled. We also upgraded the blast furnace to nichrome coils, which is going to allow us to smelt the tungsten steel for the next coils. And effectively, that's all that montage was. It's not very impressive when you summarize it, but I promise you, it took a while. And if you're looking for exactly how long this has taken, the time played statistic now is showing 7.24 days, which is now like 7 days and a few hours. We are definitely faster than last time, but not by much. So let's get to processing our phosphorus boules and our tungsten steel and get the energy hatch. And then we can start to request the combustion engines. So the machines we need to make are an EV mixer, a high voltage laser engraver, and an EV cutter. Should be able to request the mixer very easily. And while waiting on that for crafting, let's get to the advanced cutter. We need to make some ultimate for the cutting saw, so we'll just encode the recipe. We'll just craft a little bit of it. Shouldn't take too long. And we now have the mixer. Got the laser engraver now. So we'll put the laser engraver in the clean room. And we'll actually just give it a regular interface. And the reason why is because I'm going to come down here and be swapping out the lenses a bunch of times until we get the precision laser engraver, the multi-block, which is a while away actually. And now, once the ultimate is spelted, we just need these phosphorus-doped monocrystalline silicon boules, which is the small pile of gallium arsenide, phosphorus, and silicon. And again, it's just a waiting game with a lot of these blast furnace recipes. We have some enderium in there at the moment so that we can make wires. We also have the ultimate, and now we're going to request some boules. Even though I have 4 blast furnaces, this still just takes ages. But let's just throw it in the requester barrel anyway and see how we go. I think it's probably best if it requests the phosphor and silicon first. And as if the blast furnace doesn't need more to catch up on, let's mix some of the tungsten steel so we can start getting our energy hatches. So we've got our monocrystalline phosphorus boule now. Let's cut it straight into the cutter. 60 seconds. Do I even need to say anything? And with the ultimate buzzsaw, we should be able to request the cutting machine. That's going to be one of the funnier things we've ever been missing. 2 Canthal ingots. Well, I'll get that sorted and you'll see me with cut wafers. And now we have our MPICs. And that has finally opened up the quest and our ability to craft the EV hatches. So let's not waste any time. Let's craft 2. Right, I have to put the chips back in. Who said I was perfect? 2 extreme voltage 4 amp dynamo hatches. And with a touch of time, we have 2 EV 4 amp dynamo hatches. Let's request the combustion engines now. I think it's finally time. 2 combustion engine controllers, finally being crafted. So we also now need 16 engine intakes, 192 titanium. What ridiculous amount of titanium just for the front. We need 4 titanium gearboxes and 40 stable titanium machine casings, another 160. And we have 1 controller. That is awesome. And the moment of triumph is here. We have crafted enough for 2 large combustion engines, pumping out 6 amps of EV power. Are you ready? I'm ready. So we're now running our 2 combustion engines, and we are slowly burning through diesel, but we have enough buffered up that we can last a little bit longer. Currently I've been working on rewiring the base, and I can show you a little bit. I got a few comments last time that wanted to see how I actually wire up a base, so I will show you now. So obviously we do need to output the energy somewhere, and we are outputting it into a EV wire. This is Enderium, so it's 32 amps. We are only running 6. Underneath the base, I run 2 cables. I have the power cable running down the middle, and then I have the applied energistics cable running alongside it, but 1 block down. And the reason for that is for this type of junction, where we need to cross the AE2 channels across our power line. And so this is our ore processing setup here, where we are transforming 4 EV amps into 16 HV amps, and then running that along a 16 amp cable into our ore processing machine. So we are now finally not relying on diamonds to process ore. And another example here is our sieve setup, where we run everything at medium voltage. So we transform our EV down to high voltage, and then transform high voltage down to medium voltage and run it through our cables. It's pretty simple. All we need to do is make sure that we obey what tier of energy we send to places, and try and place as few transformers as possible. That's the way to go. Be as efficient as you can. And we're currently running just 1 of the turbines now, so I've rewired most of the base. I'm just missing the blast furnaces and auto crafting now, but we are still actually not consuming the full turbine output of the first turbine, which is great. It means we have 50 seconds to do our crafting for each diesel. And I actually think that we're achieving that right now. We've got an EV distillation tower doing our oil, and then we have some other distillation products as well. So I've moved the drill. It's in a slightly worse spot, but we are actually still positive on oil. 350 millibuckets a second is still enough for us to maintain our supply. As this depletes, it might get a bit slower, but we'll probably just upgrade drilling rigs at that point. We're still backed up on light fuel, no surprises there, but we are slowly working our way through our backlog of sulfuric light fuel. We're just waiting on the heavy fuel, and the heavy fuel is taking ages. But looking at it here, it actually doesn't even seem that slow. That's not bad. We can be pretty happy with this. And we're actually still backing up on diesel. We had about 850,000 when we started, and now we're already up to 900,000, just under. So I think this system is working perfectly. Right now, we're just waiting on the blast furnaces smelting all of our wire materials so that we can actually craft more wires and continue to wire them up. So this is what the oil processing area now looks like underneath. Everything is wired up using our high amp transformers, just in case we want to overclock a little bit more. Oil processing also has received the wire treatment, and I've kept the kinetic sieve for now as I slowly replace all of the lapidary dynamos. And I think it's time that we wrap up there. We've gotten everything we wanted to get done today. We've made most of the progress through the extreme voltage chapter. We just need to work on the platinum line now, which is going to be very exciting. And I think next episode, we're actually going to start to tackle this mess with our Gregified mystical agriculture. I'm so looking forward to it. But after that massive grind for the large combustion engine, I think next episode we might take it a little bit easier, relax, and just enjoy playing some modded Minecraft. And really, if you've made it this far, consider subscribing and liking. It really helps the channel out. But with all that being said, I just want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.